What's going on, guys? Very good evening to you all, man. This is episode number 67 of the Boxing Lowdown podcast. And you know what? It's going to be a great episode today. I can feel it. So just want to shout out to everybody, man. Welcome. We got my main guy right here in the building, Mr. Laurie from AFTV. And you ready to cook, Laurie? You ready to cook for today?
Did you say Laurie?
I said Laurie, yeah.
No, you got the wrong name. I am a king.
Oh, we need to cook on that today.
I am a king of the universe.
Christ, man.
Welcome, everybody, man, to another edition of the Boxing Lowdown. Myself and Daryl. Great to be here, man.
Great to be here. Yeah, very good, man. Can't complain. You know, a lot to talk about today, and like I said, just to everybody, you know the drill. Those of you that guys come in, hit the like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't already. We'll go through as much comments as we can. Big up to everybody that joined in the chat. Shout out to my two guys every single time, Harvey and Francisco in the building. Big them up every time, man. And listen, Laurie, let's just dive into it, man. Shout out to everybody that comes in as well along the way. That interview, man, Audley. Let's talk about it because it just came out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden, Audley, let's go back to where it started really this week. We just saw a lot of tweets coming from Audley's account. You know what I mean? Went on a tweeting marathon. And then he demanded an interview with Kugan Cassius. I watched that interview. And you know, he was going off at Carl Froch for one. And then, you know, the basis of that interview, I mean, for those of you that watched the whole interview, big up. Because that was some long, drawn-out interview, man. But yeah, I think Audley's basically looking to make a comeback in boxing. So just your thoughts on that, the interview, and just Audley in general, man, because I don't know, like after watching that interview, I have a few concerns, man, if I'm being real. But let me just hear what you got to say about it.
No, I mean, it was like you said, it was very long. It was bizarre at times. Well, a lot of times, actually. And whilst it was entertaining, it's also tinged with a little sadness because I think what you're seeing there is somebody that I would say anyway, and I'm by no means an expert or a professional, but it looks like he has some kind of neurological issues, if you ask me. So that was kind of, I mean, he's admitted to having neurological issues, but I think watching that video, it's kind of manifesting itself, if you know what I'm saying. Because some of the terminology, speaking about himself in the third person, and some of the things he was saying, man, sort of bordering on delusion. And I know that delusion is one of the symptoms of CTE. So, you know, I don't want to dump on the guy, man, because I've got a lot of respect for what Audley did, especially as an amateur in this country. And he has been an object of ridicule in the past. And I don't want to go down that route. But you have to say, large parts of that interview, you were sort of shaking your head and thinking, wow, what's going on with Audley? Is there something amiss with him? You know what I mean? And yeah, so it was kind of sad. Although, you know what I mean, for a number of there was a number of spells in there where you think he was making me laugh, some of the things he was saying. I didn't know whether to take it seriously or whether it was tongue-in-cheek. But then he didn't look like he was meaning it to be tongue-in-cheek. He was actually serious when he was calling himself a king and he's got his power back and now he's come to take over the world and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know, man. It's a mixed bag, isn't it?
No one can carry my jockstrap. Only a couple people can carry my jockstrap. Just, I'm a king. If I go into boxing, I'm only dealing with AJ or Dylan Whyte. I'm just like, I just the delusion, man. And you know what? Big up Ash here with a comment. Because I totally agree. I literally just said this to someone before I jumped on. I've had to unfollow Audley on Twitter, man. It's gone too much. Yeah, it's too much, man. The guy is at first it was funny, you know, it was cool, but this guy, I don't know, man. It's like he's not sleeping. It's just constant ranting on Twitter now. It's too much. And Ash is saying it here, like all these sentiments were right, but it's gone too far now. Give it a rest. He's muted on Twitter for me now. I had to unfollow him, Ash. That's how far it's too much now. Like,
it must have been because I saw bits and pieces on Twitter. Actually, I don't think I follow him. No, So what I saw must have been other people retweeted stuff. But then when I saw the furore, then I took the trouble to watch the interview. I had time. So I took the trouble to watch the interview, and I called you, didn't I? And we were talking. I was saying, "Bruh, man, you watched it before me, and I know you weren't that impressed.
No.
I watched it, so I suppose you kind of gave me the heads up as to what to expect, and it was a bit bizarre. But like I said, I felt a bit sorry for the guy because you're looking at somebody there who's achieved a lot. I mean, he's Audley Harrison MBE, he's Olympic gold medal winner, 2-time ABA champion, Commonwealth Games gold medalist. Even as a pro, he did well, man. I mean, he won the British title and the European title. A lot of people think he underachieved, which he might have done, given the sort of profile he had coming out of the amateurs. And he was saying things like he was going to win the British title in less than 5 fights and stuff like that. So, I mean, he spoke a lot. Even then, he loved a camera and a microphone, you know what I mean? But fast forward to now, man, it did look to me as if somebody that has not been in the limelight and is trying to chase, you know what I mean? He's clout chasing, basically. Yeah. And he said some things, man. Some of them were entertaining. Some of them were factual. I mean, the stuff he spoke about when he won that Olympic gold medal, how that benefited the UK amateur program going forward. All that stuff he said was actually true, and he deserves credit for that. And I think he was right in saying that he's never really truly been given the credit he deserves. But then some might say that's because of the way he conducted himself also, you know what I mean? So
but why now? Where's this all come from now? Like, why now? What's this all about? Like, just dumping on everyone now.
His power back. He'd lost his power in 2004, apparently, he said. But now he's got it back. So, you know what I mean? He's come back to reclaim his throne. He actually said that, didn't he? I've come back to reclaim my throne as the king.
Was he ever the king? I mean, he was Olympic gold medalist. He was, you know what I mean? But as a pro, he was never the king.
No, I don't think he was. But in his mind, he is the king.
You see what it is, yeah? This is something we spoke about as well. The real kings, like Lennox Lewis, for example. Do you know what I mean? That was a king of the era at one point. You don't have to go about and bragging and saying, yeah, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a king. Like, people just recognize Lennox Lewis as what he was. Do you know what I mean? You'll get your flowers that way if you are that special. Like, I'm anyone that goes into the ring gets my respect, of course. I mean, we've both done it. You've done it at a high level than me. But like, anyone that gets in the ring gets respect. But if you're on a level like a king, so to speak, like Lennox Lewis, you never see him going around saying, yeah, man, I'm a king, I'm this, I'm that. And people just say that to him anyway. Do you know what I mean? And that's
because Lennox Lewis is secure in his own self. He's content within his own self.
Yeah.
Similar to people like Joe Saunders. You never see him coming out and stuff like this because they've done it, they've proved it. Well, it's not just those two, to be fair. There's a lot of boxers. Most of them, to be honest with you, will not come out with stuff like that. Others feel the need to remind people of what they've done and what they've achieved, and they're demanding respect. They're demanding the love they feel that they didn't get or didn't get enough of. You know what I mean? They're insecure people. They proclaim themselves to be confident and to be alpha males and to be this sort of larger than life figure. But really and truly, their behavior suggests otherwise. And that's like Audley, isn't it? I mean, he comes across as a kind of gregarious, confident, you know what I mean, larger than life character, very confident, alpha male. But he has these demons in the back of his head, doesn't he? Lurking around there, telling him that, you know what I mean, he maybe feels unfulfilled. Like I said, he doesn't feel he got the respect that he feels he deserves. So yeah, it's a shame, really.
Yeah.
Because really and truly, Audley should be one of those guys, man, that we all look up to. He should have been one of those guys. He should probably still have a place in boxing. You know, as a coach or promoter or manager or commentator, even, you know what I mean? A figure that, you know what I mean, that when he speaks, people will listen and hang on to their every word. Unfortunately, with what we've seen over the last couple of days, that's not going to happen now, is it? It's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stefan says here, I still don't understand Audley's angle with all these tweets. What's he after? like I guess, like we said, I mean, he
acclamation.
looking to get back in the game as well.
I think it's more than
do we
that.
take
Though.
that serious? Is he really gonna get back in the game? Like, or is it just a? Do you know what I mean? Is it all waffle?
Put it this way: if you was a young fighter, would you be looking to be trained by him? Mind you, I mean, I'm not sure anyone beneath a certain status is worthy of Audley, isn't it?
Yeah, that was another thing that I didn't like. That was another thing I didn't like when he said, like, I saw some of his tweets, yeah, and one thing that he was saying was like, you know, I'm going to do an interview, get myself out there, blah blah blah. I saw one guy tweet him and say to him, "Oh yeah, Audley, can you do an interview on my channel?" Audley quote tweeted the guy now. He's like, "Sorry, you're not big enough. I'm a king. I deserve this." What's wrong with you, man? And then like another thing on that interview, this guy as well, he had about 7,000 subs or whatever, 7,000 subs on his channel or something like that. Audley's just shutting him down, and then he's saying stuff like on the interview, he was like, "Yeah, I want to get in the game, I want to manage, I want to guide people and that in their career, but I don't want to do anyone on the ground level. Nah, I'm too big for that. I want to do this." I'm just like, the cheek of it, man. The cheek of it. I just don't like hearing that stuff, referring to yourself in the third person. I don't really like it. Don't really like it, man.
And I think the thing is as well, there is a character in there that we could get to know and love, because like I said, he's gregarious. He talks well when he's trying to when he's making sense. He's articulate, you know what I'm saying? So it's a shame he's chosen to go down that route. And I don't know what Carl Froch said to him. Do you know the source of that? Because he just came out.
He's really going after Carl Froch.
Of acrimony and hostility towards Carl Froch. I think he was alluding to something that Carl Froch had disrespected him in some way, but I don't know what way. I've not seen any tweets from Carl Froch to suggest that. So something's clearly wrong there. And obviously he told a story of him and Carl Froch from when they were amateurs. And I did hear from my own sources back in the day. I mean, not to the extent that Audley's saying it, but I know that in that amateur team, that did include David Hay as well, that Audley was seen as like the mentor for the younger, because he was a bit older than them, man.
I can believe that. I can believe it.
He was the the older guy. Obviously, he's the bigger guy, and they kind of looked up to him for guidance, you know. And Audley's not been slow in coming forward and reminding everybody of that, you know what I mean? But it is a bit. I'm tinged with sadness, man, because I see there's somebody that could have been a bit of an icon for British boxing in his own way. And with these kind of interviews that he's given and this kind of behavior on Twitter that he's indulged in recently, obviously I fear that he's just going to become a figure of ridicule. Yeah, which is a shame, really, because the man has achieved a lot in his career.
Yeah. DS has said here that tweet was towards James English. Audley was bang out of order, but if he's not in his right mind, yeah, I guess you can excuse him if he isn't in his right mind.
Yeah, we have to temper our criticisms with a degree of sympathy and empathy, because, like I said, I'm looking at a guy, to me, and indeed, Audley himself has admitted that he's had neurological issues since he stopped boxing. In fact, that was one of the reasons he cited why he gave up the sport. And I think it's clear when you listen to him speak, the rambling sentences, constantly referring to himself in the third person, giving himself the name King without no irony, you know what I mean? It's just like he's looking at you with a straight face and calling himself a king. All these things, the reading I've done suggests that he has a couple of problems in that area, man. But listen, man, I hope you can get some help with it.
Yeah.
If you can convince him to see someone, that's the thing, you see, because he doesn't. He doesn't feel he has a problem at all. I mean, why would he? He thinks he's a king. You know what I mean? So he thinks he reigns over the universe, you know? So,
yeah.
I wouldn't be able to try and tell him what to do.
Nathan says here, it did seem like a very strange interview. I had to turn it off. I couldn't listen to 90 minutes of that. And it was one of those rare interviews where Coogan couldn't even get a word in. Like, he just couldn't even get a word in that interview, man.
He couldn't. And I remember, I think it might have been they might have done about an hour and a quarter in. And I think Coogan must have said words to the effect that, yeah, we've been in an hour and a quarter. I must ask you about, I forget what he was asking Audley about. Audley was like, oh, really? That long. And then he said, well, let me tell you my story. It just completely discounted the question.
Yeah.
And again, you know what I mean, launched into another rambling soliloquy, you know what I mean, of just, and then of course, a lot of the stories, man, you know what I mean, just by what he was saying, you could tell that, well, they had Audley's own particular frame of reference on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything was made out to making him to be the hero and stuff like that. So, oh well, hey.
Yeah. We'll see where it goes, man. I mean, we'll just see where it goes. Like I said, I'm not following him now, but
I hope he calms down. And listen, like I said, and I'm being serious now, I hope somebody close to him can have a little chat with him and say, look, Audley, you know, I mean, your intentions might be good. However, there are one or two things there that we feel like you might need to get some help. I hope that the outcome of that interview is that, you know what I mean? So there might be some positives to come out of it, because I genuinely think that the man needs some help.
Yeah. I see Carl Froch did reply to one of his tweets, basically saying, because he's been tweeting Carl Froch constantly. So I think it got to a point where Carl Froch had to reply to at least one of them. And he just said something like, yeah, whatever you're smoking, man, let me have some of that. Just said something like that to him. But then, like, he's just left it alone. And he's been really going after Frank Warren as well, Audley.
Yeah.
So, he's just going off, man. He's going off.
It's one of them, innit? That if he comes after you, it's probably best not to engage him, because if you do engage him, it's just going to go on and on and on. I think with Audley, if you don't take the bait, maybe you'll probably move on to what he perceives as his next victim, until sooner or later it will just fizzle out, and then he'll just realize it's not going anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Big up your food in the chat here. This is not really a topic for us to discuss on the boxing platform. So, I mean, you've seen the articles and everything. There's nothing really more for us to say on that.
I've got no comment on that. Everybody's seen what's going on. AFTV have released a statement. Read the statement. Everything in that statement, I can tell you from my perspective anyway, is categorically 100% true. So, Yafu, I haven't got anything else to say other than what's in the statement.
Yeah. Let's talk boxing anyway, man. There was a fight last weekend, and that was Gary Russell Jr. against Magsayo. And you know what? You actually you called it, man, to be fair. On the show last week, on the day before, on the day you were messaging me telling me about how you think the fight could go down, how you said that you were concerned. There was a lot of signs going into this fight that were working against Gary Russell Jr. Obviously, he was saying that he had an injury, and that literally came to fruition in the fight and from the fourth round onwards. But, a close fight in the end, which went to Magsayo. Just your thoughts on the actual fight and, what next for Gary Russell Jr., man? Because, this was a bit of a setback for him.
Okay, so to take it from the top, I contacted you last week, and I WhatsApped you a message, which you put out there, which was very good of you to do that. But yeah, man, that was just based on, listen, I've been watching boxing. I've been in and around boxing for a number of years. I've been boxed myself, been in gyms, spoken to people, watched the game from near and far. Now, when you get fighters, there's a couple of things there. You get fighters start talking about retirement and they got a fight coming up. That's never a good look. If you've got fighters coming out and saying, you know what I mean, they're carrying injuries and stuff like that is never a good look. Then, of course, there were the other factors. He hadn't fought in close to 2 years. The weight, missing the weight, which is something that he hasn't done as a pro. I know he had issues with weight as an amateur. He missed the Olympics because of him trying to do a late weight cut and it didn't work. But as a pro, he'd always made the weight. I mean, he's been champion now for a number of years, even though he hasn't fought that often. That as well, the inactivity. So you had all those factors, and then you're up against a young, strong, hungry, ambitious guy that can punch. I just thought all the portents were there for the upset. So that's why I said, listen, if Magsayo wins this fight, it wouldn't be a shock to me. It wouldn't be a surprise, because all the elements are there for the upset. I stayed up to watch the fight. I found a site to stream it, and me being me, I got my notepad out and I decided to score it, because I knew I just knew that there was going to be an element of controversy surrounding this fight. But to be fair to Gary Russell, after the first couple of rounds, I thought he did, for a guy boxing with one hand, I have to say, I do commend him. He did really well. And he won rounds, you know what I mean? Now, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say he won the fight because I don't think, he didn't win it, in my opinion. I had it like, I think pretty sure I had Magsayo about 2 or maybe 3 rounds up. But what I would say is that some of those rounds were close, right? I mean, it was only work rate that got Magsayo over the line. I have to say I was not that impressed with him. He seemed bereft of ideas. He didn't seem to know how to cut off the ring. And Gary Russell Jr. was showing excellent defense. The head movement was on point, man. Superb. His movement, the way he was pivoting and spinning, keeping away from the ropes and stuff like that. And he won rounds.
10-2, like you said.
Nah, but then this is where Gary Russell now, and I've got to say this, man. This is where Gary Russell disappointed. Okay, he may have thought he won the fight, but his manner afterwards was just steeped in arrogance. You know what I mean? Oh, I got robbed. I won the fight 10-2. I had an injury, this and that. I just thought, give Magsayo some credit, man. You know what I mean? It was whatever anyone wants to say. It was a reasonably close fight. And Gary Russell fought with the heart of a lion, man. Lots of fighters would not have finished that fight. You know what I mean? Yeah. They would have pulled out. I'm going to say that now.
Yeah.
But like I said, man, he acted a bit boorish afterwards. He didn't want to give Magsayo any credit. He claimed he'd been robbed, which he wasn't robbed. He lost the fight. And, it was just one of them, man. Well, it was a little bit distasteful. And then even since then, he's talking about some plot against him. Fighters will do this type of stuff, but he seemed to go overboard with it, man. And the way he went overboard with it kind of tarnished what he did in the ring, because I was like saluting him after. I was like, yo, man, I mean, really have I seen a guy fight with one hand for that long and make the fight that close without knocking the guy out? I mean, I've seen Danny Williams with one hand knock a man out, but that was just like one punch knockout. And I've seen guys, remember George Groves in that last round against Eubank? He was effectively a one-handed fighter. You could see
it. Davis as well. He was.
Yeah. There's been a number of examples over the years where fighters have won fights with one hand or finished the fight with one hand. But this happened fairly early in the fight. I think it was like round 3 or something like that.
Round 4, I think, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. So he fought the vast majority of that fight with one hand, and he actually did very well. And he made his opponent look somewhat limited. So I give him all the credit in the world for that. The problem I have with him was afterwards, the excuses, not giving Magsayo any credit, coming out with the conspiracy theories. And like I said on your show last week, man, in boxing, really, let's be honest, in sport in general, no one wants to hear excuses.
Yeah, no one wants to hear.
Once you've lost, you've lost.
Yeah.
Allow people to make the excuses for you, because I'm pretty sure people would have done that, If he had shown a degree of humility after the fight and said, look, I had one hand for most of the fight. I did my best. I thought it was closer than, it was, because one judge had it a draw, didn't he? You know what I mean? If he'd have said something like that, maybe I did enough to nick it. But to say 10-2, robbery, this was a conspiracy, they're all out to get me. I won the fight clearly. Anybody that knows anything about boxing knows that I won that fight. He didn't hurt me. He didn't do this. Rare. You just think, look, come on, bro. And I have to say, with Gary Russell Jr., as much as I admire him as a fighter, it's not the first time he's done this. If you remember when he lost to Lomachenko, he was equally dismissive of Lomachenko, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He said he was robbed, and he was saying that he had a knockdown in that fight that wasn't counted, which may or may not be true. I mean, I've seen it. It's not really clear. But yeah, Gary Russell Jr., man, he's a bit of a narcissist, I'm afraid to say. And it's kind of off-putting because the guy's a great fighter, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Did you manage to watch the co-main event, as Nathan is saying here? I didn't get to see it, but did you get to see that slugfest?
Yeah, that was a great fight. Yeah, that was, man. Yeah, that was a great fight. Yeah.
Stefan says here
on that card as well, because King Tug, who Gary Russell fought before, or a couple of fights ago, it might have been a fight before. He had a guy that came in at late notice. I got an African guy, and the guy fought really well and fought into a draw.
Yeah.
So that was a good fight as well. And I just want to say as well, I mean, I don't know if you were going to mention it, so I'm sorry if I preempted it, stole your thunder, but Gary Russell fought so well that, remember we spoke last week about rematches. I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here, although I did say last week it was only in special circumstances. But I thought he fought so well with the one hand that I'm going to say, had he have had the two hands, I'm pretty sure he would have beaten Magsayo on that night. And I'm going to say that maybe not an immediate rematch, but he deserves a rematch or another shot at the title soon. So yeah, so
that's what Stefan's basically saying here as well. He said if with no injury, he wins that pretty comfortably. So
yeah, I mean, listen, man, there were times in there when he was making Magsayo look foolish. He really was.
Yeah,
and scoring fights, there is a category that they have about for defense and effective aggression and stuff like that. So that's why he was winning some of those rounds, because his punch output was nowhere near as high as Magsayo's, because he only had one hand. And it also has to be said that the one hand that he had was the backhand. So his lead hand, he couldn't throw any jabs with. And that jabs are your point scorer and the ones you use for setting up the punches. So he was at a double disadvantage, really, because had he not have had the backhand, at least he could have been using the lead hand to score points. But it was the lead hand that he couldn't use. So he had to exclusively lose his backhand after 3 rounds. So it really was a really good performance, and he showed a lot of heart. Shame that he went to spoil a lot of that stuff by all the stuff afterwards.
Yeah, Francisco says here, it's remarkable that Magsayo didn't take advantage of Russell being one-handed. He didn't make adjustments. Laurie, you can get a boxing scorecard app on your phone unless you prefer a pen and a pad. Laurie, he'll prefer a pen and a pad.
No, you know what? I didn't know about the app, though. I guess I should have done that, shouldn't I, really? I'm going to download the app.
Yeah, you'll prefer the pen and the pad because you'll be messaging people at the same time. You don't want to come out of the app and then, you know what I'm saying?
True. Although with the app, I would imagine that it will retain the score, so you can go back and look.
It would
store it in your phone and say, if anybody ever asks you in the future, you can say, well, you can scroll through your phone and say, look, this is what I had for that fight. So yeah, I probably will do both in future.
Yeah. What next for Gary Russell Jr. then, man? I mean, where does he go from here? If he's not, it's not looking like he's going to get an immediate rematch. Not from the sounds of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, where does he go?
Well, I think he'll just have to try and lobby hard for a rematch and hope that Al Heyman and those guys accept the offer. Or if not, a rematch with Magsayo, he'll just have to. I think the first thing he needs to do is sort that shoulder out, because he said in the post-fight interview that the shoulder injury that he suffered in that fight is something that's been bothering him since 2008 when he was an Olympian, when he was an amateur. Now, this is the problem I have with Gary Russell Jr. Right. So, okay. So, that you've been having trouble with that shoulder, and it dates back to 2008, many, many, many moons ago. Why not go and sort it out? You know what I mean? Once and for all. You should have sorted this out years ago, which is why some people are not buying excuses. Because if you've had that injury for so long, and let's face it, it's not like this guy fights twice a year or anything like that. You should have sorted that out, because like I said, nobody wants to hear excuses, bro. Outside of your immediate circle and, your little cabal of friends and family and fanboys and stuff like that. No one's trying to hear it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Here's a comment. Here's a fighter that you were talking about to me the other day, literally. Stefan says here, just a shame Regis Prograde dismisses a Matthias call out, but he gets on the phone to MTK as soon as McKenna says his name. His career is drifting into irrelevance since that Taylor fight. That's exactly what you said to me a couple of days ago about Prograde.
Regis Progade's disappointing me, man. He's one of these guys, man, that's always posting videos, uploading videos of himself in the gym and doing all these bizarre training routines and hitting tires and so forth and talking smack to fighters. But when you're going to fight, bro? Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of annoying. It's irritating. I know fighters use social media to promote their brand and themselves. I'm good with that. But if all your content is about, look at me doing this, and then there's no fight, one is forced to ask yourself, well, look, when are you going to fight again, man? What is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you serious or what? I mean, it's that Ryan Garcia thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Throwing all these combinations in the gym and this and that, and then every time you're linked with a fight, it never materializes. You're like, yeah, come on, bro. Like, you know what I mean? We want to see you uploading videos of that type of stuff when the fight is signed, when the posters are out, and we can see tangible proof that you're fighting. Then if you want to upload stuff of you training and sparring or hitting the bag, the pads, whatever, fine.
So is
But
that
every
fight
other day, you're uploading videos of you hitting the bag, the pads, doing this, doing that. And there's no fight.
Is that fight with McKenna on then? Because he's going to be on Sonny Endwood's undercard. That's going to be in Dubai, isn't it? That show. So is that where Regis Prograis is going now? Like, he is with Probellum, isn't he? So yeah, I think last couple of years have been disappointing, to be honest, man.
I mean, and the guy's a very good fighter, as we all know.
Yeah.
I mean, him and Josh Taylor was a close fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But look where Josh Taylor's got to, and look where you know what I mean?
Yeah, there you go. I mean, listen, the spoils don't go to the winner. So yes, you know. But even so, Regis Prograis is a big enough name that he should have been back in the ring already. Even if it's only a couple of tune-ups or stay ready fights. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't know, man. Maybe it could be, I don't know for sure, that he considers himself a fighter that is on a certain pay grade, and he's not prepared to dip below that. But then fighters,
I think he's getting that against McKenna.
But then fighters that do that type of thing, as we've seen with Gary Russell Jr., because that was one of the things that was thrown at him the other day. They were saying that one of the reasons why he's not fought more often is that he tended to price himself out the market too much, demanding exorbitant purses that promoters didn't feel they could pay him. So,
actually saying here, Tank versus Rolly next year. I heard that as well this week. Is looking like Tank and Rolly will fight. The WBA ordered that for the regular belt. I thought they were getting rid of those belts, but yeah. It's just just the less said about that, the better, man. Stefan says here the
Rolly fight will appeal to a lot of people because Rolly's, as you know, Daryl, is a very controversial character. Chats a lot of shit. Some of it comes to me across as a bit retarded, to be honest with you. It's not.
Yeah, really, that's what it seems like to me.
He's a bit of an idiot. But in America, a lot of people seem to like that. So he's built this kind of notoriety on social media. He does have some skills. He can punch a bit. He's unbeaten. And of course, he's in that stable. So it's easy to make fight. But listen, man, we all know that Tank's going to pretty much walk through him. I would have thought. I'll be extremely surprised if it even goes late. I expect Tank to dismiss him summarily.
Yeah.
I mean, but there you go.
Got some people in the chat here. Don't forget to hit the like button, man. Share the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Laurie, let's talk about the heavyweight division, man, because we had some significant developments over the last few days. I want to get your thoughts, first of all, actually. I did a video, but I did a stream about it a couple of days ago. That was on your boy, Gareth A. Davis, in his article about AJ and the 15 million. That appears not to be true because AJ came out and denied it. Now we're looking at Fury and Whyte. That's looking like it's happening. Purse bids were supposed to be yesterday. They've been pushed to Friday. However, Tyson Fury has been plastering all over his social media today that the Whyte fight is on, that is happening. So I want your thoughts, first of all, just on this whole situation. I aired mine out on Tuesday. So your thoughts on that article, first of all, and the fact that Fury Whyte is looking like it's a step closer now.
Well, the first thing I want to say, Gareth A. Davis is still a knob. That is certified. With regards to the step aside money or the rumors of, AJ being offered 15 million to step aside. Now, some people may be surprised to hear what I'm going to say next, but I've thought about it and I'm kind of changing my tune to what I may have said previously. So apologies if people think I'm being a hypocrite, but I'm not really being a hypocrite. It's just that I've given it more thought. And I'm coming around to the view that, well, actually not coming around to the view. I am of the view that AJ, there's nothing wrong with what he's doing. If indeed he has been offered 15 million and he's considering it, step aside and let Fury and that do their business while he, if that was to happen, or if that he is presented with that, then I don't blame him for doing what he does. I mean, I would prefer him to fight Usyk in the rematch, but come on, bro. I mean, how many of us can honestly sit here and say that if that was us, that we would? No, I don't want 15 million. I want the fight. You know what I mean? Come on. You know what I mean? It's and it makes sense.
Just to clarify, last week you did say that you'd be disappointed if AJ took the step aside money, but now you've done a U-turn.
Yeah, and I'll be saying I can perfectly understand why he would. I mean, it's a lot of money, Daryl, and also logistically, it gives him more time to prepare for the fight. And if he was to fight Fury, and let's be honest, they're bashing lumps out of each other, then the winner, let's say it's Usyk, the winner is going to be primed, ready for hopefully for AJ to beat. You know what I mean? I mean,
yep.
AJ could have a little tune-up fight in the meantime, just to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but this is the thing. Everyone keeps talking about AJ stepping aside, but there is another guy in the picture, you know. That is Dillian Whyte. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I was going to come to Dillian. I was just getting rid of that one first. So I'm just making it clear that what I said last week about being disappointed of AJ, I'm now saying that I can absolutely understand why he would take the step aside money. I'm also saying if it was me, I would take the step aside money as well. So that makes me sound hypocritical. But like I said, I've given it more thought. And for those factors I said, the money, the fact that it gives him more time to prepare. Because let's be honest, AJ's not even announced his trainer change yet, has he?
Nope.
You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? All that, it gives him more time to prepare for the battles ahead. Meanwhile, you've not had to put a glove on, and you've earned more by stepping aside than most fighters earn in their career. I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer, really, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Despite what some people are saying. It's easy for somebody who's not in that position to say, oh, no, I'll turn it down. And, you know what I mean? What about the integrity of the game? He said he wanted a real, yeah. Okay. But at the end of the day, if you're offered 15 million and you turn it down, you would almost be silly to do that, in my opinion. But anyway, with regards to the Fury-Dillian Whyte fight, I'm glad that fight's happening. I think Dillian deserves this shot. I think it's a good fight. I think there's going to be a lot of hype. You imagine the press conference for that fight are going to be almost as entertaining as the fight itself. And yeah, man, I'm kind of looking forward to it. And Tyson Fury needs to fight as well. There are other fighters out there apart from Deontay Wilder, you know. So let's see how he goes. I mean, Dillian will present some problems. I mean, I saw Eddie Hearn today saying that he's confident Dillian can knock him out. Now, that could be just the promoter talking because he's got tickets to sell and all that type of stuff. But, you know, if you look at the history of these guys, man, Dillian said on the record unequivocally a number of times he got the better of Tyson Fury in sparring. He said he dropped him on more than one occasion. And he says he's absolutely confident he could beat Fury in a fight. And listen, man, you could call it being slightly deluded, man, but Dillian always backs himself against everybody. And he always goes in there and gives it 100%. So I'm pretty sure that that fight will be a good fight. It will be entertaining. And I don't think it's going to be one of them where Dillian's going to come out of that fight afterwards and say, oh, I wish I'd have let my hands go more, or, you know what I mean? Or stuff like that. So, yeah.
Well, there's a lot of there's a lot of comments here with regards to Fury. They're not having that his announcement today. They're waiting for it to become official. Harvey said here, let's not forget the last time Fury announced a fight on social media before the official announcement, it ended up not happening. He's obviously talking about AJ there. Stefan has said here, I'll just wait for the official announcements at this point. Tyson Fury is one of the biggest bullshitters going. He changes his tune every 30 minutes. The guy is a complete clown. DS has said here, Fury is a fraud. So, yeah, not a lot of rating. And you know what? I have to agree with all of those comments, man. Like, Fury, you can't trust him. Do you know what I mean? He'll say one thing one day and another thing the next day. And literally,
it's got to the stage now where I don't even I don't follow Tyson Fury on Twitter, but if people retweet stuff and that, and I see his face on it, I tend not to even look at it because I just know it's going to be BS. I mean, I saw something the other day where he's calling everyone a coward and this and that. It's just typical Tyson Fury. It's not funny. It's just crap.
Yeah, but and did you see what Ugas's manager? I've seen a few comments here talking about it as well. Like Ugas's manager, Igor Klimas, yeah, whatever his name is, he came out and said, like, before you start calling people cowards, just remember that you just go check your management team about what really happened. Do you know what I mean? So Eddie Hearn came out and said it today in an interview as well. He said that Fury didn't want that Usyk fight, so he said it was all bullshit.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, I've been saying this for a few years about Fury now, haven't I? Ever since I've been on this show, and before that, I've expressed my you know what I mean, disdain for some of the stuff that comes out of Tyson Fury's mouth. And I got called a hater. I was, oh, come on, man. Oh, you're a hater. He's just entertaining. It's not really entertaining, bro. It's just boorish nonsense.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, you know what I mean? Some people anyone who finds that entertaining, seriously, I don't know what to say to them. People say he's the Ali of the latter day, but oh, please do me a favor, man. You know what I mean? Tyson Fury is not anywhere near what Muhammad Ali was. You know what I mean? He's just a guy that likes to shout his mouth off. Now, where I will give him credit is that so far he's unbeaten. At the moment, you have to say he's the best heavyweight in the world right now, although I'm sure Usyk might have some dispute to that. He will lay claim to being the best heavyweight, having beaten AJ, come up from cruiserweight and beaten AJ, let's face it, fairly comfortably, didn't he?
Yep.
I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was
pretty comprehensive, in my opinion.
Win, you know what I mean?
Pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, and I'm sure if Tyson Fury had done that to Fury, he would have been proclaiming himself as the best in the world. So listen, man, Usyk does have a legitimate claim, but Fury's just going to do all that. You know what I mean? And like you said, we don't know for sure whether the fight with Dillian will go ahead.
Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out soon because we're going to find out soon because the purse bids are supposed to be tomorrow, and WBC have said that this is going to be the last time that they approve an extension. So with Fury coming out today, basically saying that the fight is done, I mean, surely it is happening now. I mean, you never know with this game, man. You just don't. But
you don't. And especially with Tyson Fury. And I think Dean there, I know he's saying it in jest, but that would not surprise me, bro. You know what I mean? That would not.
Right. Yeah, it wouldn't.
Yeah, Tyson Fury is not like really my idea of a heavyweight champ of the world, man. He doesn't embody those traits for me. But you also have to be fair and say, at the moment, anyway, at this moment in time, he is probably the number one heavyweight in the world. And so we have to respect him as such. But if he goes up against those other guys, man, I'll be saying I want them other man to win. Dillian and Usyk, whoever he fights. Because I've just got no time for that BS. I've got no time.
IA says here, Fury's legs are gone. They said he's there for the taking. Do you think that his legs are gone? I mean, against Wilder, he was pretty stationary in that last fight, even the second fight, which he did very well in. But the third fight, it wasn't vintage Fury. He beat Wilder, but it wasn't like how he looked against Wilder.
I said that at the time as well. I mean, he was vulnerable in there as well. I mean, what he does have is tremendous heart, and he has what I call inherent boxing skills because he's been boxing all his life, and you can see he does certain things in there that come natural to him. And I used to have this view about Fury. Maybe some people might think it's slightly disrespectful. I used to say it was just him being 6'9" and being awkward. So I never gave him any credit for his skills, or very little. Now I'm prepared to say he does have skills, and he does have decent footwork especially for a big guy, 6'9". Normally when you get somebody 6'9" and that heavy, they look quite ungainly, innit? They look quite clumsy in their movements. With him, he is quite coordinated, man. He is an athlete, and he does. One thing I would say about Fury as well, he has a lot of heart. You're going to have to really nail it to get that title off him. That's one thing you can't take away from him. You have to nail him to get those belts. So those guys coming in there, they've got to know that. You know what I mean? He's not going to chuck it. He's not going to spew it. He's not going to, you know, well, not what I've seen so far doesn't suggest that he's going to do it. So he's basically going to be a very hard night for anybody that fights him.
100%
I'm sure Dillian has to be prepped for that. You're not going to hit Tyson Fury with one shot, wobble him, pile in, and then he's just going to get counted out on his feet without fighting back, or, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that goes with him outside the ring is just a bit of a car crash, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll say what I say about Fury, but I mean, like I said, if the fight was to be announced, then he'd still be my favorite to win. Do you know what I mean?
It'd be my favorite. But I would go on record and say I wouldn't want him to win, no matter who he fights. You know what I mean? Because I just don't. care for the antics, man. You know what I mean?
Is it all just an act, though? Do you know what I mean? Is it all, you know what I mean? Boxing has characters and Fury is a character. Should we just not acknowledge that he's just being a character?
He's a character, all right, but he's a character I don't warm to. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's definitely a character. And listen, sometimes he can
characters are good for the game. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's good that we have characters, man. I mean, look at Bivol, for example. Yeah, he ain't a character.
Yeah, I prefer. Yeah.
You prefer
Bivol.
I guess it's what you like, innit? Really.
Listen, Bivol is a non-entity, isn't he? You know what I mean? You'd rather watch paint dry than Bivol, man. You know what I mean? Doesn't bring anything to the table. Other than the fact that he's a good boxer, but some people might say that's enough. But Bivol is just hiding in plain sight, basically. That's what I say about Bivol. So what I'm saying about Fury is that it could be so much more from him in a more sort of positive way, rather than all these sort of ridiculous rants and swearing and boorish behavior that I just find it just turns me off personally. But some people like it.
Some people like it. Yeah, some people like it. Question from Harvey here. He's put, if no deal has been done right now, do you think Matchroom will win the purse bids tomorrow? I think they've got a very good chance, man. But Frank Warren and that, they're not going to allow that. So I just think that a deal's probably been done.
No, what do you think? Frank Warren probably doesn't have the financial clout to go up against Matchroom.
They got top rank as well, though.
Yeah. But even Bob Arum, you know what I mean? Bob Arum's always crying about money he's lost on fights and from what I hear, he's in the red with Fury, isn't he?
They're not going to let Eddie Hearn win that. They're not going to let Hearn win that.
Well, they might have no choice, because if they're not going to put the money up and Eddie Hearn does, then they will lose the bid. You know?
Asher said here, I've said this for ages and I'll keep on saying it. Fury is easier for AJ than Usyk, especially this version. Styles make fights. Absolutely right. Styles do make fights. Do you agree with what he says, though?
Yeah, I do feel that. Although, given AJ's last couple of performances, I would have to make Fury favourite over him as well.
Yeah.
AJ needs a good performance, man. It's been a while now since he really, really impressed. I thought he looked all right against Pulev, to be honest. But then he was very disappointing against Usyk, and he needs a performance, man, to get his career back on track, because I don't think it was just the fact that he lost to Usyk on points. It's the manner of the defeat. You know, some people are suggesting that maybe he's been around a while. He's had a lot of fights, both amateur and pro, and he's kind of plateaued out and on the way down. So who knows? He needs a big performance.
Yeah. Stefan has said here, with going on to AJ, he said, why has it taken AJ 4 months to decide to take the rematch or not? It's a ridiculous carry on. Usyk must be getting pissed off at this point.
Yeah, well,
it's true, man. What is going on, though, for real? Like, what is actually going on, man? I mean, how long does it take for you to decide? You activate.
As I said, we've still not even had the trainer change yet, have we? We know that he's let Rob McCracken go. He went to America and visited all these gyms. And again, here we go again. You see social media. You see a fighter in the gym throwing punches on the pads and hitting the bag and blah, blah, blah. We're waiting for this announcement for the new trainer. We're still waiting even now. It seems ridiculous to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
This saga has been going back and forth now for ages. Surely you must have an idea on who's training him.
I think so, but with that, the longer it goes, the more people are going to say, like, he don't want that rematch right now. He's considering the step aside, and he can get pissed off at the articles and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you're not helping yourself, because you're just we haven't heard an update. Yeah. So this is the sort of thing that will happen, you know?
I mean, to be fair to AJ, I know he's been in the gym, so it's not like he's not working and stuff like that. But I would have thought by now he would have had a trainer on board and they're starting to work towards that next project, whether it's Usyk or whoever. You know what I mean? So I'm a little disappointed that that's not been sorted. But hey, who knows what's going on, man? Who knows what's going on?
Asher said here, can you ask Laurie what he prefers for Canelo next, Charlo or Bivol followed by Triple G, according to Mike Coppinger. Yeah, I did see
Well,
that.
I could tell you straight away what I don't want to see, and
He's
that's
going to say Bivol, Ash.
I don't want to see Bivol. I definitely don't want to see another Triple G fight.
Nah.
It's Charlo, man. You know what I mean? That is a great fight.
Well, that's what's rumored to be next.
Charlo has been a name that people have thrown out there and said that Canelo's been previously ducking it. So why not that fight? Because listen, I would actually favor Canelo to beat this version of Charlo, and it would do his resume no end of good. You know, I think Canelo, you know, I mean, the timing would be just right for him to fight Charlo, man.
Yeah,
I think he beats Charlo. I honestly do. I might not have said that a year or two ago, but this version of Charlo now, I think there's some slippage here, man. And I think mentally he's not really there the way he was previously. Now, if they fight, I'm sure Charlo will get in the gym and he'll whip himself into shape. But I'm not sure that, you know what I mean, even with that, I'm not sure, man, because what I'm seeing from him looks like a guy that's not really focused. You know what I mean? And I think to fight Canelo and beat him, you've got to be focused. You've got to be 100% on it. Because one thing I will say about Canelo, he fights regularly. He's always in the gym. He takes himself and his sport very seriously. You don't see him embroidered and all the nonsense. I saw him at his birthday party a few weeks ago. He looked like he'd had a few drinks, a few tequilas. Nothing wrong with that. He was celebrating his, or was he getting when he got married or something like that? But I'm pretty sure he was in the gym today. I don't know how far behind Mexican time or forward we are. I'm not sure of the time zone, but I bet you any money that if you went to that gym where he trains, he was in the gym today. I could say the same for Charlo. I mean,
well, Charlo, to be fair to Charlo's not really out of shape, is he? When have you seen him?
No, I've seen him out of shape a few times. He's
have you? I ain't really seen him look fat or anything like that. I ain't really seen him look podgy or anything.
Yeah, man. Go back and look at when he had that incident with Jared Hurd. His face looked like he put on a few pounds there, man. But you know what I mean? It's not just that. I just think the mentality has to be right to beat Canelo. Too many times you see guys go in there and they look like they're just happy to have been involved in a fight of that magnitude. Are they're really there to win? And I have to say, man, I'm going to say it, man. Even Caleb Plant, who was a guy who impressed the hell out of me in the lead up to the fight, said all the right things. Once he was actually in there, you saw that moment in that, was it the 7th round?
I think it's a bit later than that, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
How am I doing? What do you think? I mean, that is not the mentality that's going to beat Canelo, bro. It's not. You got to be prepared for war. You know what I mean? Because you're not getting a decision on the cards. It's very unlikely. You're going to get, especially if it's close. So you've got to have that mentality whereby I'm going to go in and I'm going to rip that title off his head. Now, let's be honest. How many people have gone in with Canelo recently that's adopted that mindset? We saw Callum Smith, who's a very good fighter. He went in there. He froze. You know what I mean? And Caleb Plant did well. I mean, I thought he won rounds. But he didn't really go for the kill, did he? He didn't really go to, you know what I mean? And then, like I said,
yeah, but he's not that kind of seek and destroy type fighter, though.
He's not that type of seek and destroy. But when you're saying things to a fighter like, how do you think I'm doing? Not bad for, you know what I mean? That is not the mentality that's going to win your Canelo fight. Sorry.
What about Billy Joe Saunders then? I mean, how do you think he did against Canelo?
He did okay, but he was kind of passive for large spells, wasn't he? Flitting around the ring and stuff like that. That's not going to get the job done. Now, the Charlo of a couple of years ago, when he was going in there and he was punching with bad intentions and, you know what I mean, and he was looking good and solid and all the rest of it. Yeah, that Charlo's definitely got a chance against Canelo. Can he reinvent himself for Canelo fight? It's quite possible. I hope he can. But I just think that Canelo and his team are quite smart when they say they want to fight Charlo. I think they know that they're getting him at a good time. Are they miscalculating? There's only one way to find out is when they actually fight. But that's what I feel anyway.
Michael Maxwell says here, what about Benavidez? Someone you've always advocated for.
But again, it's clear that Canelo and his team, they're very strategic. It's clear to me that they don't really want that Benavidez fight. It's obvious. because that's a natural fight to make. And yet he's swerving it. There's a reason why he's swerving it, isn't it? There's a reason why he's telling Benavidez, who have you fought and what have you done? The man's a 2-time world champion. That's what he's done. And he's calling you out. He's confident. He is displaying the type of energy that I want to see. Whereas Charlo I'm not seeing that from him, bro. I'm seeing a guy that's enjoying himself outside the ring too much, getting into scrapes, and one that's not coming across as particularly focused. I'm seeing a guy that's not looked that good in his last 2 or 3 fights. And I just think he's ready to be taken. And I think that's what Canelo and his team have identified as well, which is why there's all of a sudden so keen to want that fight. Whereas before it was obvious to me that they didn't want a fight.
Well, what about Demetrius Andrade? He's looking to vacate his belt and move up to super middleweight. That's looking like it's going to happen now. So he's going to put himself amongst the super middleweight division. And you know what? Fair play.
Yeah,
he's somebody
absolutely.
that I've been advocating to get a big fight for a long time now. He deserves one. I don't think he'll get Canelo, but there are other guys at super middleweight for him to fight. You know what I mean?
Well, Canelo's on the record as saying he don't want to fight him. What was it? He said, horrible fighter. Horrible. I mean, why should Demetrius Andrade like alter his style just to suit Canelo? You know what I mean? He's there on merit. It's not for Canelo to tell him what style to fight. Why are you worried about his style for? Go in there and beat him if you can beat him, innit? Or is it because you know that the style is going to give you problems? So you're trying to dismiss the guy. You know what I mean? So
Sander B says here, Benavidez style is easy for Canelo. He will get rid of him quickly if they fight.
Well, take the fight then. You know what I mean? That's what
I've seen a few people say that.
Yeah, what I'm going to say, if it was that easy, I'm pretty sure Canelo would have made that fight by now. Obviously, Canelo, they know their boxing, you know. By all accounts, Eddie Reynoso is one of those guys. He's very meticulous in his work. They sit down and they study these guys, their strengths and their weaknesses and stuff like that. And I think it's fairly obvious that Canelo does not want that Benavidez fight. Even in terms of when he unified the belts, it was almost as if he waited until Benavidez was out of the picture to unify the division. Now Benavidez is back and calling him out. He's swerving the fight.
So do you think he's scared of Benavidez?
I don't think it's a matter of, I've said this before on your show, it's not a matter of Canelo being scared. He's not scared of none of those guys. I think it's self-preservation, though. I think, like I said, him and his team, they analyze styles and they analyze fighters. And if they can get an easier look on the table, that's what they're going to do. Because it's all about preserving your title status, making more money, and providing longevity for your career, rather than fighting somebody that you know is going to give you problems. It's going to be a serious threat to you. And Canelo's in that very sort of, he's in that position whereby he can pretty much choose who he fights. And he can use his status in the game to swerve certain fights. And there's no doubt that he's done that throughout his career. Absolutely no doubt.
Wexford DJ said here, shouldn't the 2 PBC fighters fight each other and then Canelo can fight the winner?
Well, why not Canelo just fight people, man, that are worthy of him being a pound-for-pound champion of the world? I'm not saying that every fighter he fights has to be a killer, but come on now. We want to see him in there and with something that's going to properly challenge him.
Yeah, but one thing I will say is, like I've said it before, is that don't just sit around and wait. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't just sit around and wait for Canelo to fight you. Do you know what I mean? We've seen other guys do that. They've wasted their careers chasing after a guy and then they don't end up getting the fight. Look at Amir Khan with Mayweather.
Yeah,
chased him, didn't get it. Like, you got to build you got to do your own career as well. So
yeah, absolutely. But you know, it still doesn't get away from the fact that Canelo will.
But he can't fight everyone. He can't fight everyone. You know what I mean?
He's not fighting no one, though. That's the thing. You know what I mean?
Well, he is. He is. I mean,
it's very strategic, man. You've only got to look at it. It's very strategic. It's always the lighter touches. You know what I mean? That he's made a career out of doing that. I'm sorry. That's what he's done. And he's fooled a lot of people and made a lot of money in doing it. He's got away with it. But sooner or later, yeah, I mean, and it's not just me that's saying it. It's a lot of people are saying it now. I think I even saw a comment attributed to Nacho Beristain, who's like a Hall of Famer,
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to train Marquez and
Yeah, legendary.
yeah. And he said that Canelo needs some more career-defining fights. I paraphrase him, but that's basically what he was saying. In order for him to go down as a Mexican legend, he's got to put himself on the line and fight the best fighters. Now, that's an all-time Hall of Famer trainer that's saying that, not just me. So many people are saying it. You know, when you come out and say these things, a lot of people say, oh, you're a Canelo hater. No, we're not. We're just saying, like, you're in that kind of privileged position, Canelo, where you can almost choose who you fight. Now, how about choosing fighters that's going to enhance your resume rather than you just going up and down in weight, collecting titles, knocking off the soft touches or softer touches, accumulating belts and saying, oh, yeah, look, I'm a world champion in X amount of different weights. Because it's not really fooling the people that really know about boxing, is it? Let's be honest.
Shout out to Davek Penyong here in the chat. He's put, you can say what you want about Canelo, but the fact is that he fight. I know Laurie's going to have a comeback to this one. The fact is that he fights 10 times better opposition than other fighters. Then he said Charlo, Benavidez, and Andrade, their resumes are all shit. I don't agree with that.
No, that guy. Well, you know what? That guy. You see that statement he just said there? Then that tells more about him than it does the fighters. If you're going to say that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what I mean?
Michael Maxwell's put here, he has been very calculated since the Mayweather loss when plotting his career. Francisco says Benavidez would be an action fight because Benavidez likes to let his hands go and has no defense. Charlo can box, which makes it a more interesting fight for me. But I agree with Laurie and Nacho.
Yeah, I think, listen, man, if you know your boxing, you will know, man, that this is what he's doing. You know what I mean? It's obvious to everyone. That's people like me and you and people who watch the sport and follow the sport. We could see it, bro. Like, you know what I mean? It's obvious. I mean, a case in point was when he was rumored to be going up to cruiserweight to fight Makubu. Come on, bro.
He's fighting this week, actually. Don King, back.
I mean, come on now. Look at the guys you got at that weight, and then you're picking on poor old Makubu, a guy that was knocked cold, knocked senseless in this country about 6 years ago by Tony Bellew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know.
Last one on Canelo here. Big Lewis said Canelo is a great fighter, but he hasn't fought the best fighters possible, and that's pretty much something you've said.
I have never once on this show belittled Canelo's skills as a fighter. I've said he's a great fighter. I've said that. But I've also said his career has been very strategically managed, and he's not done his best to fight the better fighters out there. Mm-hmm. If you look at his history, if you go back and look at it, there have been several times when he could have fought the best in the division, and for whatever reason, he's chosen to swerve it. You know what I mean? We know, man. We see this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But where he gets away with it, what helps him to get away with it as well is that you've got certain people in the industry, people who should operate with much better integrity, your journalists who are supposed to be those people that defend the honor of the sport, and you know what I mean? But they don't call him out for it. They let him get away with it. Maybe they want interviews, maybe they want a curry favor with him and stuff like that, but they won't call him out on his bullshit. But they quite easily call out other fighters like Crawford and people like that. So, yeah, he's not fought nobody. But when Canelo's doing that barefaced, not only will they not say nothing, they will make excuses for that guy. And that's what's so annoying. You know what I mean?
IB has said here, I think Laurie is a closet Canelo fan. There's a thin line. I think there's a fine line, sorry, and I think he's hiding his love. Where's that Canelo t-shirt, man? You've got it.
Yeah, you know, I need to get that out, don't I? But listen, man, I am a fan of boxing. And Canelo is one of the better fighters in the game. He's definitely up there. Despite what I've said about the Peds and stuff. He's right up there with the best fighters in the world. I've got Terence Crawford as my number one pound for pound, and I'm sticking by that. But Canelo is right up there, yeah? Assuming he's off the stuff. Now, but that doesn't stop me from criticizing him. You know what I mean? It doesn't stop me from criticizing any fighter. I mean, earlier on, I went in on Gary Russell Jr. Daryl will tell you, he's one of my favorite fighters with the fast hands and the movement and stuff like that. I've loved watching Gary Russell Jr., but I've criticized him as well. He don't fight enough. He's an arrogant, narcissistic man. And we saw evidence of that on Saturday night. And I've called him out on it. So, you know what I mean? I'm trying to be consistent around him, man. You know what I mean? Errol Spence is another one of my favorite fighters. I love watching Errol Spence fight. As soon as I found out he was fighting in this country, man, Darryl will tell you. We went out and got tickets straight away for that fight. You know what I mean? Went up there, watched the fight. But I've been critical of Spence in the past because he should have done more to make the Terence Crawford fight. I blame him for that fight not happening because it was clear to me that Terence Crawford was more willing to fight than he was. He was hiding behind shit, you know what I mean? 70-30 and all that type of stuff. Get the fight done, man.
Yeah. There's more comments here with Canelo and Sander B has said here, Usyk is the only throwback fighter in the heavyweight division. Let's talk about a fighter, one of my favorite fighters here that will be fighting in March, Chocolatito. He was supposed to be fighting Juan Francisco Estrada in the rematch. Well, third fight between the two. Second fight, man, that fight still hurts me to this day. Now he's going to be fighting Julio Cesar Martinez after Estrada caught COVID. This is another, you know what I mean? We talk about fighters fighting, you know, the best. Chocolatito is what you call a throwback. I mean, Sander B is saying Usyk is the only throwback fighter in the heavyweight division. Chocolatito is just one of the only throwback fighters left out there, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but Dillian could be said as a throwback fighter. Dillian would have it with anyone. We all know that.
Well, I don't know about that. There's been times Dylan's turned down fights before.
Well,
when have you known Chocolatito to turn down a fight?
Well, I mean, just because a fighter's turned down a fight doesn't mean to say he's not a throwback fighter. There might have been legitimate reasons for him turning down that fight. But yeah, listen, I hear you. Dillian has turned down. I mean, he was rumored to have ducked Luis Ortiz, but then so did Joshua. So did a number of fighters. A few years back when Luis Ortiz was blowing up the spot, there weren't too many people coming forward to fight him, including a certain Tyson Fury, by the way.
Well, forget that, man. Let's talk about Chocolatito anyway.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, listen, what you say is right there, man. He's a great fighter. He doesn't get the credit he deserves because it's a smaller weight. And for whatever reason, those weight classes don't seem to appeal to the general public. So those guys find it harder to get recognition. And it also has to be said as well, the pool of fighters is not as deep. So you are going to end up in more, you know what I mean, 50-50 fights or stuff like that. Because, you know what I mean, if you're a ducker, there's not, like, where are you going to go? After a while, you're going to have to fight certain guys, simple as that. Because the pool is a lot more shallow than, say, heavyweights or super middleweights, etc., etc. But listen, man, he's definitely one of the top fighters out there at the moment. We all like watching him fight. It's always an entertaining fight, and he was robbed in his last fight. Yep. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see him get back in there and do his thing.
Yeah. Why do you think the little fighters don't get as much credit as they? Why do you think that is? Somebody that's
I think it's aesthetics, man. I think if you no disrespect to the smaller guys, but I just think that people like to watch fighters, either heavyweights, because you know they're big and strong. You have that kind of image in your mind about the heavyweights. Everyone loves them because, I mean, invariably the fights end in stoppages. With the smaller guys, because they're a lot smaller, it's almost a bit surreal to some people, isn't it? They just don't connect with them. You know what I mean? They find it hard to form an affinity with them because they're smaller and they think, who are these little guys?
Yeah.
It's not the right thing to do, but that's what it is, basically. It's aesthetics. It's a bit like women's boxing, isn't it? Just no matter how good the women's boxer is, a lot of people just don't like women's boxing. With me, I do like it, you know what I mean? But a lot of people I've spoken to, and you try to say to them, listen, man, some of the women have got excellent skill. Women shouldn't be boxing, man. And, you know what I mean? It's like, well, it's similar to that. You know?
Yeah.
Aesthetics.
I really hope we'll go on to because obviously a big women's fight got announced today, but I really hope that Chocolatito beats Julio Cesar Martinez as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know you're a big fan of Chocolatito, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not the biggest fan of Julio Cesar Martinez, to be fair. So yeah, I'd like to see Chocolatito win now.
Why is that? Why are you not a big fan of it?
Well, wasn't he another one? Do you know what I mean? We're talking
Yeah,
about we spoke about what's his name last week, Oscar Valdez.
yeah,
Wasn't Martinez a similar sort of situation?
yeah,
Like, I don't know
yeah.
if it was as serious as Oscar Valdez's one, but he popped dirty as well,
Too
didn't he?
many Red Bulls again. Red Bulls or tainted meat.
And yeah, I just like Chocolatito anyway. I felt he got robbed in that last fight, man, and I just like to see him win. So yeah, I want him to win that fight against
Any
Martinez.
guy that's tested positive, I don't want to know him, man. Trust me. I think the sport is riddled with people like that. And once they get caught, they should do long bans, or if they get caught again, they should be thrown out of sport. That's the only way they're going to get rid of this problem. Or even, I wouldn't say get rid of it, because I think, to be fair, you're always going to have people who are going to do this type of stuff. But in order to make it more difficult for the cheats, when they're caught, they should have the book thrown at them. Doesn't matter who they are or what weight they operate in or what promoter they fight for. Once they get convicted of it, once they get found, you know what I mean, once they've taken the test, they've found positives. I don't want to hear no excuses. Everyone, the rules are clear. You are responsible for what goes in your body. You know what I mean? Actions should be taken. Fighters should be sanctioned. So too should their trainers as well. It's about time they started introducing a rule now whereby trainers get it in the neck as well. That way, they would do more to make sure their fighters are clean, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
but I totally agree. But it's not going to happen, is it? Let's be real.
Yeah, because there's too many vested interests in boxing, as we said before. You know what I mean? So people,
Conor,
I mean, look what happened in the Oscar Valdez fight. The man tested positive before the fight, you know. You know, I mean, it was a no-brainer that he should have been pulled from that fight. But not only did they allow him to fight on, he lost the fight in the ring and the judges awarded him the fight. Then after the fight, he goes back to his hometown, somewhere in Albuquerque or wherever it is, and they have a statue of him in the city centre. I mean, come on. Somebody once told me that cheats don't prosper. Well, that's clearly not true, is it? Because Oscar Valdez has profited and prospered quite a lot for his drug cheating ways. You know what I mean?
I liked what Conor Ben said this week, man. He was interviewed this week, and obviously he was someone that was made the headlines over the week or so because he hadn't enrolled onto the WBC clean boxing program, but he cleared that up in the interview. Said that, you know, he just didn't fill out the paperwork. He said it's been done now, and he's enrolled onto the clean boxing program. But then he made me laugh afterwards because he went on a little bit of a rant. He said, I don't have to be in the WBC rankings if I don't want to be. I'm in a better position with the WBA. And he said, is the WBC really clean anyway when they did with Oscar Valdez? And I said, yeah, like you're right, man. Like, fair play to you for bringing that up, because he brought that up. Conor Ben did.
He is right, but then he's not so right for not enrolling earlier, to be honest. Because if I was a fighter, especially a high-profile fighter like him, not only would I enroll, but I would be wanting everybody to know I've enrolled, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Put it out there to say, look, man, I'm a clean fighter. I just want to let you guys know that those devastating performances you see in the ring there is my own work. There's nothing shady or fishy about me. But unfortunately, because he's not enrolled and there's been all this news of him, you know what I mean, them getting on his case to enroll, there will be some people out there inevitably are going to say, a bit dodgy, that.
Yeah, one thing what the WBC do is they don't send you, like, according to Conor Ben, they don't send you a letter saying, yeah, you haven't enrolled. They'll say, oh, this fight has been removed because they haven't. They'll make it public first before they, like, let you know that you need to enroll. But hey, if that's how they do it, man.
What reason? I heard about that interview. I didn't see it. Did he give a reason as to why he hadn't enrolled?
No, I think he just literally said, I think he just hadn't filled in the paperwork or something. He just slipped his mind or whatever. I mean, we never know how accurate. Listen, it could be, but he's enrolling on it. He's enrolling on it. So I don't know.
I don't know, man. That's a bit weak to me. You're a professional athlete. This is what you do for a living. So it begs the question, why did you overlook it? Like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just find that a bit bizarre that you said, oh, I had the paperwork at home, but I just couldn't bother to fill it in. You know what I mean? Like it's something like, oh, I'll do it when I get around to it. No, this is your career we're talking about. So stuff like that is just as important as you going on a 6-mile run or going to the gym every day. That is a part of your career, surely. But anyway, he's done it now, and I'm glad he's done it. I'm not accusing him of anything. I want to make that clear. but I think it's a bit sloppy, shall we say, that he hadn't done it before.
He's not the only one.
I'm sure he's not. I'm sure he's not. But then this is why we have the problem in boxing. This is why you get people who, you know what I mean, find it hard to believe what they're watching. You know what I mean? This is the problem that Canelo has, isn't it? Because every time, whether he wants to admit it or not, whether his fans want to admit it or not, whether they want to call people like me haters, but every time Canelo goes in that ring and knocks somebody out, there'll be people there saying, yeah, but come on, man, the man's on the juice. You know what I mean? That's just facts, bro. People will think like that.
Francisco says here, how do you guys feel about a possible Ryan Garcia versus Tevin Farmer fight? Doesn't appeal to me, that one at all. Bad fight for Farmer. Bad fight for Tevin Farmer, that is.
Yeah, that's looking like that's just a bit of a soft touch for Ryan Garcia. You know what I mean? Tevin Farmer's very keen on it. I just wonder why if it's the bag he's looking. I'm pretty sure it is, because I've seen some tweets from him recently. He's talking about investments and, you know what I mean, and what he's done with his money and so. So this him calling out Ryan Garcia is almost like a sort of glorified pension plan, like a 401, isn't it? You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, I know whatever happens, I'm going to get, because it's Ryan Garcia, I'll get some good money and I can invest that as well. But in terms of an attractive fight, it's got no attraction for me, to be honest.
No, nor me either, to be fair.
Tevin Farmer, he got beaten comfortably by Jojo Diaz. He's not fought for a long time. He's kind of out there. He needs to work himself back up before he can even think of that. No, I'm not interested in that fight.
Big up Dave Boy Green, man. Salute. He says here, great show again. Good mix of content. Glad you enjoy it, Dave.
Thanks,
I've got one more thing I want to talk about before we go for today, and that is the announcement of Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. That will be taking place on April the 30th. And this is a big fight, man. Big fight, not just for women's boxing, but for boxing in general. Do you know what I mean? You've got two elite world champion level fighters, man. Elite fighters at the top of their game. Maybe Katie Taylor's coming towards the end of the top of her game. She's still undefeated, you know, officially. And it's a great fight. Let's just say that. It is a great fight. Let's just say, and I think this will be the one where Katie Taylor loses. I do think.
Yeah, I mean, I said on your show a couple of weeks ago, man, that to me that it's clear to me that she's past her best. I think even some of the people who put her on that sort of elevated status, even they are suggesting that she might be past her best. But having said that, she's unbeaten and she's such a good fighter that she still has enough to make this fight against Serrano competitive. But I am heavily leaning towards Serrano, even more now that we're learning that the fight is in New York.
Yeah,
I think if Serrano gets a fair shake on the scorecards, which her fighting in New York increases that chance, even though it's, you know, the promotions might not favor her, then I think she'll get the job done. But it will be a
Puerto Ricans in the build. There'll be a lot of Puerto Ricans in there, a lot of Irish people in. It'll be a good blend of crowd in there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'll be an excellent fight. But I must say, to me, personally, the women's fight that I'm looking forward to more is Clarissa Shields versus Savannah.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll be watching the Katie Taylor Serrano fight. It'll be a very good fight, I'm sure, while it lasts, if it goes the distance, you know. But the fight I really want to...
No one's picking Katie Taylor here. No one.
Yeah, because I think most people who watched recognize that she is way past her best. And you alluded to it a little while ago when you were saying that officially she's unbeaten. We all know that she was beaten at least once by Pursoon. I mean, that fight, I'll say it again, was one of the worst decisions I've ever seen. And I'm not just saying that for effect. It was literally mind-boggling how those judges could have come up with those scorecards. Everybody that was anyone in boxing was saying, nah. You know what I mean?
That was one where my mouth went, I was like, what? Yeah. I was literally like, rah, man, you didn't give it to...
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
The word robbery is an overused word in boxing, as we all know. But that fight there, that was grand larceny. That wasn't just robbery, man. That was, you know what I mean? That was a major heist. That was some real BS. And even the rematch. I don't know about you, Daryl, but I watched the rematch. I thought Pursoon won the rematch too.
It was closer. It was closer.
Yeah, man. I mean, Katie Taylor performed better. I mean, she went away, did her homework on Pursoon, and You know, I mean, she didn't engage as much, and she was quite cute on her feet at times and stuff like that. But to me, I thought Taylor lost that fight as well. But even if she won that second fight, the first fight was abysmal in terms of the way that was scored. It was absolutely dreadful.
On a positive note, Katie Taylor has done, she has helped, I would say, help transform the women's boxing game. You get a lot of women fighters now. They'll say that, they look up to Katie Taylor. She was the one that kind of helped them get into boxing. And I'm not saying that she was the pioneer, but she definitely helped drive female boxing forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Through her career. Yeah. And she's been no matter what, she's an absolutely perfect role model out the ring. Do you know what I mean? And like what
but one thing I would take issue with is when I hear people like, I mean, Eddie Hearn's going to say that because he's a promoter, so he has to say that. But when that narrative is being pushed about she's the greatest woman boxer of all time, absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Clarissa Shields has achieved way more, won more professional world titles. She has 2 gold medals to Katie Taylor's one. Clarissa Shields won her first gold medal when she was 17 years old. So her achievements far outweigh Katie Taylor's, both as an amateur and as a professional. I think you kind of said it yourself there, Darryl, when you was talking about her image being spotless outside the ring. I think sometimes that's where Clarissa falls down a little bit, shall we say. I mean, her Twitter fingers can run riot sometimes. She says some pretty outrageous stuff at times, doesn't she? I mean, even so far as saying that she could beat men fighters, and sometimes her tweets and stuff and her social media is a little bit off, I've got to say, man. And then she gets into these silly little arguments with people that tend to go on and on and on. And she can appear not classless, but just a little bit aggy, you know what I mean? Like unnecessarily aggy sometimes. You feel like, come on, man. You know what I mean? And then she got into that spat at one of her fights where the opposing girl's trainer got knocked out, and it turned out it was Clarissa Shields, one of her family members that did it, and then she had lied and said she didn't know who it was. So she copped a lot of stick for that. So sometimes Clarissa's, the way she handles herself outside the ring is not exemplary, put it that way. It's not, again, it's not one of those things whereby she attracts a lot of warmth to a lot of fans. Some people are put off by her behavior. Listen, I really like Clarissa Shields, so I'm not one of them. But a lot of people have said to me, or I've seen a lot of comments, adverse comments on her out of ring behavior. So that may have worked against her a little bit in the way she's promoted and marketed, you know what I mean? But in terms of her fighting and that, she's been exceptional.
Michael Maxwell here, he's saying that Shields will lose to Savannah Marshall. He thinks that Savannah Marshall is too textbook and solid for her. Obviously, Savannah Marshall holds a win over Clarissa Shields in the amateurs.
Well, I don't think Savannah Marshall is going to outbox Clarissa Shields. I think what Savannah Marshall has to offer is she's supposed to be a big puncher for a woman fighter, one of the biggest punchers out there. And I think their game plan will be to maybe not knock Clarissa out, but you know what I mean, like hurt her and capitalize on that. But I can't see her boxing Clarissa Shields. No way.
Is that the more competitive fight? Is that more competitive than Taylor Serrano?
Definitely.
Shield, yeah.
Definitely.
So you don't think? So you don't think Taylor Serrano is that competitive then?
Not no, I think it's competitive. I think it will be competitive, but I think Serrano for me is a clear favorite. The only slight thing I've said it before and I'll say it again. Will she get a fair shake on the cards? Because it has to be said that Katie Taylor, as good as she is, she has this certain aura around her. It's kind of like that sort of Canelo aura to a lesser degree in it. And that Manny Pacquiao aura where as soon as they get in the ring, they're already 3 rounds up on their opponent. You know what I mean? It's one of them.
Well, I don't even know if it will go that far. I'm not even being disrespectful, but I don't even know if it will go that far, man.
Really? Wow.
I don't know. Yeah.
I've not seen any evidence of Katie Taylor not having a good chin or nothing. And you don't really get that many stoppages in women's boxing anyway.
No, yeah.
Only 2-minute rounds. You know what I mean? So, no, I don't know if she'll get stopped. I could see Serrano just being too young, too strong, just too good for her at this stage. Because, like I said, it's clear to me that Katie Taylor, she's been in the game a long time now, and there's clear signs of slippage there. It's obvious. A lot of people have said it as well. Whereas Serrano, she's pretty much in her prime. She's going in there and she's washing other women boxers. Literally, you know what I mean? She's like putting on clinics. So if you put the two together at this stages in their career, then really there should only be one winner. Now, I think Katie Taylor does have enough left in the tank that if she, you know what I mean, has a good preparation for this fight, she may be able to turn back the clock to a certain degree, but I still don't think it will be enough. Whereas with Clarissa and Savannah, I think you're seeing two girls pretty much in their prime that have it's a genuine grudge match, genuinely don't like each other. And of course, like you said, Daryl, a little while ago there, Savannah Marshall is the only one who can lay claim to a victory over Clarissa Shields. So Clarissa wants this fight bad, man. She wants that get back bad. And of course, Savannah can beat Clarissa Shields. She will be like, you know, the king out there, or the queen, should I say? So
she'll be coming over here next weekend, actually. For, you know, she'll be fighting on the undercard of Eubank and Williams in Cardiff. I'm looking forward to that. Her first appearance over here in the ring on UK, well, as a professional on UK soil. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm supposed to sign out, but a question here from V. Big up V. I haven't seen you on here before, but big them up. They've put here, what do you think of Demetrius Andrade ducking? I'm not even going to try and pronounce this guy's name.
Janibek. Just call him Janibek.
Janibek. Yeah, we'll just call him Janibek. But obviously, Andrade's moving up, isn't he? He's looking to move up in weight.
And I don't blame him, man. He's been at middleweight for a while. He's a big middleweight, and he knows he hasn't got that long left in his career. He's trying to get those big fights. He wasn't able to get Triple G. He's not been able to get Canelo so far. I think he's moving up. I don't think he's ducking Janibek, because really and truly, if he beats Janibek, he wouldn't be getting any credit for that, would he? Everyone would say, who's that? You know what I mean? So it may be a bit strategic, yeah, but is it a duck? No, I don't think so.
We'll see, man. I'm looking forward to Andrade going up to see. He deserves a big fight, man. He's been in the game for a long time, man. He's undefeated. He's got a belt. Nobody wants him. Just somebody give him that fight, man.
And let's be honest as well. He's looked good recently. You know what I mean? He's stopping guys, putting guys down. I mean, give the man a big fight, man.
The middleweight division is just horrible, man. Yeah. Absolutely horrible. The way how they're acting in that division, man. You've got a guy over there,
Murata, just tying up belts for like year after year.
Triple G, he's all of them, man. They're just all. I'm not rating it. No, I'm not feeling that division.
At least Andrade wants to fight, and like you said, he deserves a big fight. He's been trying to get Canelo in the ring, even so far as going to his fights and calling him out, which is something that Charlo and them lot are not doing. You know what I mean? So I do feel a bit sorry for him, man. And then in the meantime, he's been kept busy, but they're not really names, are they? I mean, even Liam Williams, he's a big name. Well, I wouldn't even say he's a big name here, but he's a name here. He's not definitely not a big name in the States or worldwide. No. And it's clear to me that Andrade, like you said, is seeking that big fight. And he's getting to the twilight years of his career now. You know what I mean? So you can't blame him for moving up, seeking new challenges and seeking bigger fights. And with respect to Janibek, who is a good fighter, he's not going to fill that void, is he? No way. So, yeah. It could be a duck. It could be a bit strategic, but I don't think it's a duck, to be honest. I don't think it's a duck.
All right, man, we're going to wrap it up here. Do you know what I mean? 1 hour, 1.5 hours, still quick. Still wasn't as long as Audley's interview, let me just say that. But listen, man, it's been another great show today. Just want to thank everybody for joining in, taking part, leaving comments. You know the drill, man. Thank you all very much. Appreciate you guys coming here every week. The numbers are starting to go up now by the week, so more people are starting to get involved, which is great. Shout out to all you guys, man. Hit the like button on the way out if you haven't already. Francisco has said here, good work, brothers. I'm not taking step aside money from any of the other channels. So yeah, big him up.
If you offered 50 million, I bet you would.
Yeah, yeah, I bet. Yeah, I mean, I would as well.
Yeah, see, it's very easy to say, oh, come on, get in the ring and fight. You're a fighter. You made enough money. Somebody offers you 50 million for, let's face it, for not doing anything. you'd almost be a fool not to take it, wouldn't you? Especially in a sport like boxing where one punch, it can all go wrong. Come on now. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
DS has said here, another great show, family. Harvey has said here, big up. Shout out to all you guys, man. Laurie, I'll let you close it out for today.
Yeah, man. Listen, thanks everybody for watching, man. Get the word out there. Like, share, subscribe. Get that video out to all your friends and family and associates and everybody. You want to get Daryl across this landmark 1,000 subs. Once again, thanks for allowing me the opportunity to come on here and talk about a passion of mine, something that I love to engage in. So, yeah, man, it's all good. And, yeah, hopefully see you guys next week.
For sure, man. Big up to everyone, man. Have a good evening. And we'll catch you guys next week, man. Peace out.